What is going on, everybody? This is your boy Bill Mahari here, representing MehariNation Sports Podcast here on a Monday night here in the city of Minneapolis. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to the entire Lions Den basketball community. Boy, we have already completed the first round of the NBA playoffs, man, and certainly a lot of stuff that has been going on throughout the week, man. And I'm going to get into some of that in just a few moments here. I just wanted to say though, guys, that I know I've been trying hard to be consistent with my times. It's just that finding that voice and finding that consistency is one of the few challenges that I'm facing at the moment. So, just continue to bear with me and to continue to spread the word on it as I continue to try to perfect my craft, and eventually, in due time, it will work out. As of right now, I have 169 subscribers. So, people with wrenches, make sure to try to spread the word through your social media platforms and try to get the likes up and try to get people to buy into what I'm trying to achieve here as a goal. Try to achieve, to make sure that my channel, makes is one of the best channels on YouTube. But slowly but surely, I'm going to try to make this work and try to be more consistent for you guys as I progress. Okay. Now with that out the way, now we can start talking about the playoffs. I know you guys have been wanting to hear about my thoughts about the playoffs since about the last few days, but I want to get into about Mr. Russell Westbrook. Thanks, Nitty G. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Now, I want to get into about what happened with Russell Westbrook. Man, oh man, Russell Westbrook. I think it's pretty much safe to say that Russell Westbrook at this point is not. I mean, he's allergic to the playoffs. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. But the problem I'm seeing with Russell Westbrook is he tries to take over the game and tries to do too much during the game, and he he plays so hard, but he plays way too recklessly, and he's not really, his IQ for basketball is not as high as people try to make him claim that he is. Yes, he gets triple doubles, but if you actually really look at what his triple doubles are, they're mostly passes for open shooters, or just him purposely trying to find a teammate or something like that. But if you ask Russell Westbrook to try to set up on an offensive set, he's just incapable of doing that. Which kind of sounds down to the coaching controversy here. And salute to Tikatibi, he made an excellent point on this. A lot of the responsibility has to go down on Billy Donovan. Now, for those of you who don't know, Billy Donovan is the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's been the head coach for the last, what is it? Let's say the last 3 seasons. Yes, since he was hired in 2016. Yep. So here's the problem with Billy Donovan. He's not forceful enough to get Russell Westbrook's respect. I truly believe that he needs he needs an old school coach that's going to get Russell Westbrook's respect. Because right now, Russell Westbrook is shooting the Oklahoma City Thunder out of the playoffs for possibly for another second straight season. I mean, you look at the stat totals. He scored 14 points on 5 of 21 shooting, which is one of the worst shooting performances I've ever seen out of Russell Westbrook. If people remember the 2012 NBA Finals in Game 2, he had a near triple double, but the problem was he was not setting his teammates up, and he was not distributing the basketball into the right spots on the floor for his teammates to feast off of. Right now, Paul George, you can pretty much say that Paul George, in my opinion, has been the Thunder's most valuable player of this series. He had 32 points and 10 rebounds. You can pretty much say he's been the most consistent player in the series. While Russell Westbrook has been playing way too recklessly, he's been way out of control, and he's shooting the Thunder out of the playoffs yet again. You feel what I'm saying? So I really do really believe that the Thunder really need to look at their coaching staff and bring in a head coach, somebody like a Lionel Hollins or a Phil Jackson, I'm sorry, or a Mark Jackson, I should say, not Phil Jackson, because nah, I should say Mark Jackson, because they need he needs an old school coach that's going to command Russell Westbrook's respect, because Scott Brooks, Billy Donovan, they're okay coaches, but at the same time, they're not going to garner his respect. And right now, the Thunder are trailing 3 games to 1 in the series. And let me say this too: respect to Damian Lillard. He has been having a spectacular series, man. He has been putting in work, and he has shown he is not backing down from Russell Westbrook. He is doing a lot of the leadership stuff. He's been leading the way. But here's the big difference in that. The big difference in the series between the 2 point guards is this: Damian Lillard lets the game come to him, and he plays within the offensive sets that Coach Stotts is implementing for the Portland Trailblazers. You know what I mean? He's actually playing the role of the point guard, something that Russell Westbrook is incapable of doing at this point of time. And that's why he's been not just putting up big numbers, but he's actually playing and distributing and playing and getting his teammates involved. That's the role of a point guard. Unfortunately, Russell Westbrook, if you look back at the beginning of his career, Russell Westbrook is more of a two guard than a point guard. So if I were coaching the Oklahoma City Thunder, I would implement another point guard and move Russell Westbrook to the two guard position and have him play off the ball, because I don't trust Russell Westbrook's decision making or shot selection. He's been he's been way too reckless and way too overly aggressive of his play. And right now, the Oklahoma City Thunder is now trailing 3 games to 1, and I believe that this series is going to be over. Is over, honestly. Even if they face against the Golden State Warriors, the Warriors are going to sweep them 4-0, because they know that Russell Westbrook is going to shoot them out of the series. And let me say this though, on the theory of why Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City because of Russell Westbrook, I hate to break it to you guys. Now you're seeing why Kevin Durant made that decision. He doesn't. Let me say this too. I believe that Kevin Durant is more justified into why he left Oklahoma City. He just couldn't play with a shoot first point guard who doesn't make the correct decisions and doesn't command the point guard position as Curry does. So in hindsight, I think that I think that Kevin Durant saw that and didn't want to deal with that anymore. You know what I mean? And that's why we're here at this point. Now, let's move on to the Brooklyn and Philadelphia series. It's been very interesting. It's been a very interesting series to say the least. You know what I mean? It's been physical. It's been feisty. All the old school stuff that I used to love of NBA playoff basketball. But Joel Embiid, despite missing 1 game due to a general knee soreness, he's been having a superb series. KO, what's up, brother? How you doing, man? Oh shit, what's up, buddy? How you doing? So, P Money was good, man. Thank you for coming. Thanks, man. Salute to the chat. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make sure y'all smash the like button and make sure to spread the word about the channel though too, man. The more subscribers, the better. We are at 169 subscribers. Let's keep it up. Let's get them likes up. So that series at this point in time, you know what I'm saying? The Brooklyn Nets, they're just being out physical. They're basically being outplayed at the moment. But you can't say that they've not been competing. The Brooklyn Nets, they've been competing and really have been exposing a lot of the flaws of the Philadelphia 76ers, particularly with Ben Simmons' inability to shoot the ball, or even on the defensive end too. He gives up a lot of buckets there too. And for a guy who's big like Ben Simmons, it's concerning for me. Now, there have been whispers in certain streets, I should say certain NBA streets, that the Philadelphia 76ers were considering trading Ben Simmons, which was, in my opinion, yeah, yang, that kind of thing. But you know, the one thing I'll say with Ben Simmons is that he's more of a point forward type player, but I just don't understand why he never came in with an established jump shot. I mean, at this point in time, what is it? This is what was his second to third year in the league. Let me check real quick on the stats here. Yep, this is actually now his second year in the league, and you still haven't gotten a jump shot. Hopefully, it'll improve as his career progresses. Maybe he just needs to learn how to be more of a mid-range shooter or something like that. But you cannot survive in the NBA without a jump shot. You just can't. There's no way you can survive in the NBA without shooting without shooting a decent percentage from mid-range or even three-point range because of the open court play that is not implemented in today's NBA. But right now, the Philadelphia 76ers are up 3-1 in the series. And also, the Toronto Raptors, they got themselves together after being dealt that Game 1 shocker. Yep. Niji said, y'all got to be up for work in about 3 hours, and I'll definitely make sure this live stream. I'll make sure to share this live stream. Salute. No problem. Hey, thanks, Nitty G. I appreciate it, man. Really appreciate it. Yeah. We got 4 people in the building here. We got 5 likes so far. Let's keep smashing the like button. Just keep spreading the word about the channel. And eventually in due time, it will be a success. But it takes patience, persistence, and consistency. So let's continue. At this point in time with the Raptors, the Game 1 defeat last week was the wake-up call that the Raptors needed to remind themselves that it's the postseason. And I'll say this too about Mr. Kyle Lowry as I pull up his stats here too. Kyle Lowry, Kyle Lowry's starting to get better a little bit, but he's going to be the reason why they're going to lose. He's going to either win or lose this series, bar none. If Kyle Lowry does not produce in the playoffs this season, Kawhi Leonard's leaving Toronto. There's no way he stays there. KO says Brett Brown will end up losing his job because his Jim Simmons lack of jumper. I agree. I do agree. But I will say this though about with Brett Brown though, his weakness is he doesn't do a great job with his substitution and his rotation patterns. That to me is concerning. You know what I mean? Because because I go back to last year. How do you allow JJ Redick to be the inbound passer against the Celtics? Makes no sense to me. So in hindsight, he's not good in terms of his substitution patterns and things of that sort. But I do agree. Ben Simmons, he's got to improve that jump shot. If he doesn't improve that jump shot, how is he going to survive in the NBA without any jump shot? See, how are the Pistons beating the Bucks right now? Well, let me check the score real quick, Mr. Gothard here. Let me check it out right now. Probably because the Bucks are just probably taking the night off, I guess. Okay, so 73-68. Okay, so they're only down by 5 points with about 7:29 to go in the third. So I think the Bucks are going to try to turn it on late in the fourth quarter, heading into the fourth quarter, and probably close the series out. But let me get back into the comparison between Ben Simmons and Giannis Antetokounmpo. The big difference with Giannis is his game is starting to evolve. Now he's adding the jump shot. He's adding the mid-range jumper. He's slowly adding the three-point shot to his arsenal because we all know how freakishly athletic Giannis is, especially when he goes to the basket and just finishes at the rim. This is a given. His defense is slowly improving. I would say that both the defenses, I would put Giannis a little bit above Ben Simmons in that category. I think with passing, Ben Simmons is a better passer than Giannis, but but Giannis is a better finisher and slowly is a better shooter than Ben Simmons because Giannis is understanding he needs to work on his jumper if he's going to continue to get to involve his game. And once he establishes that jumper, it's a wrap, bro. There's no way he can survive in the NBA without. I mean, I'm sorry, I should say, if he continues to add that jumper, it's a wrap, bro. There's no way nobody could stop Giannis Antetokounmpo at both ends of the floor. But Ben Simmons needs to develop that jumper. He's got to develop that jumper. Now, as we look at the continue at the playoffs there as well, the Celtics completed their sweep of the Indiana Pacers yesterday. Congrats to them, as they're going to move on to the second round of the winner between the Milwaukee and Detroit series. And KO said, Brett Brown made a public statement saying that he will let Simmons develop his jump shot on his own time. Big mistake, though. Yeah, exactly. See, that right there is going to be the reason why Brett Brown's going to lose his job if that's the case. You can't just sit there and say, "Hey, I'm going to let him develop his jump shot on his own time." No. See, when Greg Popovich was coaching Tony Parker, you know what he would do? He would tape his thumb to teach him how to stop inverting his thumb on his shooting guiding hand, to make sure that he teaches him how to shoot properly. And he would make Tony Parker shoot 100 jump shots per practice to improve his jump shooting. See, you can't just assume that a player is going to develop his jump shot by his own time. You have to really force him to do the work to improve his shooting. If he learns how to catch and shoot, learn how to put the ball on the floor, learn how to create his own shot, you gotta be willing to coach him and teach him how to shoot the ball with the proper mechanics. And when Brett Brown says, "Oh, he's gonna allow a player to develop his jump shot on his own time," bro, you're setting yourself up for personal failure. And here's the thing. Ben Simmons is not the best player on the Philadelphia 76ers. It's Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid has more upside than Ben Simmons at the moment, because Embiid is a better shooter. He can post, he can play defense, and he can rebound. Ben Simmons can't shoot. He can defend, but he can't defend against post players, despite his size. And obviously he can't shoot. P Money says that Ben Simmons' jump shot should be much better now if he was working it within the Sixers organization. Well, how about this? How about you go to maybe a shooting guru or something like that, and maybe practice your shooting there? I'm sure maybe, let's see, who let me know if the chat who would be a good teacher for Ben Simmons to shoot the ball. I think there are several teachers that Kobe could be a great teacher for him. Yeah. Kobe Bryant would be the perfect person to talk to learn about his jump shot. KO says Simmons is too talented not to be able to knock down an open jumper. I agree, man. I totally agree with you 100%. He is way too talented. You know what's so funny to me? Ben Simmons does a great job using the pick and roll with either big guy, with Nurkic, and also with Joel Embiid. But because he's not able to stop off the pick and shoot the basketball, you could basically back off of Ben Simmons and dare him to pass the ball. That's the concerning thing for me. But let me get back to the Celtics, though. Celtics, basically showed that it was playoff time, and completed the sweep against the Indiana Pacers, who unfortunately they were out with their top star, Victor Oladipo, who injured himself back in March. So, they did their thing. Kyrie Irving, did his thing. I think at this point, the Celtics right now, they're on borrowed time, because they know that Kyrie Irving, he's going to be leaving as a free agent next season and possibly go to the New York Knicks. I can bet you on that. Yep, P Money agreed with KO. Yep, exactly. So, in the anticipated matchup between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics, that's actually going to be a really good matchup. You got two guard-oriented teams, and you also have two teams that love to shoot the three too. It's going to be a very tough series, though, to say the least. But I think I'll have the Milwaukee Bucks probably in 6 games to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to full 7. especially if the Celtics played the way they've been playing on the road in their in those 2 games in Indiana. I think we might see something with this team. I wouldn't be surprised if they try to pull off an upset against the Bucks, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And P Money says he got the Bucks in 6 in the second round. I agree. I have him in 6 in the second round too. So let's move on to the Western Conference there too. I'll tell you this though, the Western Conference playoffs, it's been shaken up. Let me talk about the Oklahoma City versus Portland series. But Kyrie can make this series epic. Agreed. I do agree with that. You know, you can never count out Kyrie Irving, one of the best closers in the NBA, and the guy knows. Do y'all notice that the comparison between Rod Strickland and Kyrie Irving? You guys do know that Rod Strickland is the godfather of Kyrie Irving. If you can compare the two point guards in terms of finishing ability and using the pick and roll, passing, and shooting, and finishing around the rim, both of them are both similar in that kind of approach. But I believe Kyrie Irving is a much better shooter than Rod Strickland was. Even though Rod Strickland was a straight baller, though, the guy can ball in many different ways. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. So let me check up the Western Conference playoffs here. Western Conference playoffs, NBA. Right. So let me talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Portland Trail Blazers series. Here's the thing about that. This has been a series that has been featuring the 2 point guards, centered around the 2 point guards of Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook. And also a little side note for you guys in the chat. I had the honor and privilege of spending time with Damian Lillard in 2015 in Los Angeles. Very nice guy. One of the most respected, most humble people you ever want to meet. KO says Rod Strickland had major game. Oh yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Especially he was one of those guys that basically led the team in scoring and assists. And I think in '98 he had one of his best seasons of his career, but never made an All-Star team, which is very, very disappointing that he never did so. But anyway, the one thing that I've been eyeing on in this series too is 2 other matchups. Enes Kanter versus Steven Adams, and obviously the 2 guard position between, CJ McCollum and Paul George. In terms of the 2 guard position, I think CJ McCollum has slightly outplayed Paul George to a little bit. P Money says that's what it is, Abil. Dame is a beast. Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna get into that. I think in the 2 guard type of position, I think that there's been slightly McCollum's series a little bit, but Paul George has been the best player for the Oklahoma City Thunder in this series by far. Nobody can dispute that. In terms of the point guard position, like I told you guys earlier in the live stream, Damian Lillard is showing that he's a better point guard in terms of his approach and how he plays within the offense than Russell Westbrook is. Unfortunately, if you watch a section, I watched a section of Ticket TV's post game live stream in the game 4 between the Thunder and the Blazers. The big thing that I took from it is this: Damian Lillard knows how to play within a system, while Russell Westbrook does not, because Westbrook, for some reason, breaks the offense down and tries to create something for himself or something recklessly. And in this point of the playoffs, you can't do that, because teams are going to notice your one-on-one isolation play and they're going to take it away. And Paul George is clearly bothered by a shoulder injury. You know what? That's a great point, KO. Great point. Because you could clearly tell that he's been battling it out though. But you can't dispute that Paul George, even bad shoulder and all, he's been the most consistent player in this series by far. Right now the jury's out against Russell Westbrook, because This is going to be the third. This is going to be what, the second or third straight year that they've been eliminated from the first round. So this is this is this is unfortunately putting on the case that Russell Westbrook cannot play within a team-oriented system unless he has a coach that is going to, grab him by the neck and force him to play in a team system. Because a lot of the one-on-one isolation stuff and a lot of the one pass type offense that Russell wants to do, it's not going to work at all. You're not going to win many games doing that. So at the end of the day, I think that the Portland Trail Blazers will close out this series. I think it's gonna be another disappointment. No doubt BG has been their best player in the series, said by Cahill. Agreed. Yep, exactly. He's been the most consistent and most productive player for the Thunder in this series. But unfortunately, Russell Westbrook's reckless shooting, reckless play is going to be the Thunder's demise in this series again. And and Russell is going to have to really look himself in the mirror, or or they're going to have to bring in a coach that is going to command Russell Westbrook's respect to get them to play more of a team-oriented system. Because you can't force the game to come to you. You just can't. And when you do that, you're going to throw yourself off rhythm, and you're going to throw your teammates off rhythm. It's just you can't just play that way. It just doesn't work. It just will not work. So now, the next series that I'm going to want to talk about, just a brief bit though, the Golden State Warriors and the LA Clippers. I'll give the Clippers credit though; they have been very competitive. They've been very feisty. I've been very impressed with well, Hazard, what's his name again? LA Clippers. I forgot his. Let me check his name real quick. Let me check his name real quick. Roster. All right, Monzel Harrell. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's correct. Yep. I bet. You know what? I'll tell you this though. Harrell has been really impressed. I've been really impressed by his play. He plays with so much energy. He's very physical. He bangs, and he basically has been one of those guys that's just been instant energy for them. And you know what Patrick Beverly can bring. I still love the fact that he tries to guard, Kevin Durant, despite the fact that Kevin Durant's just looking at him down low, like, bro, you can't do nothing to me. I'm gonna shoot over you anytime I want to. He's been freaking hilarious, though, Bo. But that Shea Gillius Alexander had the best game of the series so far. He had about 25 points in that game on Sunday. But clearly, the Golden State Warriors are just a better overall team from top to bottom, despite the fact that DeMarcus Cousins is going to be out for the rest of the playoffs. In fact, let me say this though. I think that the injury to Cousins may be a blessing in disguise to the extent that the Warriors, to me, in my opinion, you don't have to take my word for it. To me, I think the Warriors were playing too much of a slowdown game. That's something that is not normally their style. Now that they don't have to worry about, feeding the ball inside to, DeMarcus Cousins, you know what I'm saying? I think that now they're going to play more of their fast-paced style, and it should favor them a little bit more. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. KO says, I give the Clippers a ton of credit, even for making the playoffs, especially after trading their best player, Tobias Harris. You got that right. Hey, I'll tell you this, though. Since the Clippers merely made a good impression in the playoffs, keep an eye on them on free agency, especially when Kawhi Leonard is going to be shopping around the free agency market, especially in the LA market. You know what I mean? Just keep in mind, Jerry West is still there with the Clippers, the greatest recruiter in the history of the NBA. Keep an eye on them during the offseason. But anyway, I think the Clippers are going to be finished probably by Wednesday night. I think this series is going to be pretty much a wrap for them, and then they'll probably move on to the winner of the Rockets and the Jazz series. And also, let me say this about the Rockets and Jazz series though. James Harden has been impressive though. I think this year he's going to be he is going to put himself in a major category once again of winning MVP. He did a lot more this season than what he did when he won the MVP. So he's really, I'm telling you, the month of January that he had was perhaps the greatest month of scoring I've ever seen, bar none. P Money said that they're going to be major players this free agency. Agreed. The Clippers, absolutely. Especially if they could sign Kawhi Leonard and add another top free agent there too to combine with the. Think about this for a moment. You put Harrell, Lou Williams, and then you add Alexander Beverly there with Gallinari. I mean, are you kidding me? Boy, they and the way that they defend and they play physical, against their opponents. I'm telling you, bro, all they're missing is just one go-to guy. And Kyrie, and I'm sorry, and Kawhi Leonard, if he comes to the Clippers, he could be the main solution. I'm telling you. KO says, yes, sir. They have two max spots at free agency. Agreed. And also, keep in mind, like I said before, Clippers have Jerry West as a consultant. Remember, Jerry West is the greatest recruiter of talent. He recruited Shaquille O'Neal in '96, drafted Kobe Bryant, helped formulate the Warriors, and helped make the Grizzlies relevant. And also, he helped the Lakers win back-to-back titles by trading Paul Gasol to the Lakers in '08. Keep that in mind, guys. Jerry West is a very methodical and one of the best recruiters in the history of the NBA, bar none. So now I'm going to look at the little bit at the Rockets and Jazz series. Right now, the Houston Rockets at the moment, they're going to play tonight. Let me see. Oh yeah, they are playing tonight. So the Rockets are going to look for the sweep. I think that the Jazz are going to win. I think the Jazz are going to win tonight because I don't believe they're going to let this. They're going to allow the sweep to happen on their home floor just for pride's sake. So I think at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be a 4-1 victory for the Rockets, and then they'll move on to the next round. And so that's how I kind of see it, though. And also, let me say this a little about the Denver and San Antonio series a little bit. But let me give a little shout out to KO. He said that Alexander, Landry, Schmidt are both rookies in their starting backcourt. Yep, agreed. I definitely agree. And they're slowly getting better too. So keep that in mind as well. And KO believes that they're going to sweep the Rockets are going to sweep tonight. I think the Jazz may get one victory tonight. I think this is the night they'll just get one victory, and then the series is probably going to end up and wrapping this up when they series back to Houston, in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll just say this too. The San Antonio Spurs and the Denver Nuggets series, it's really been a fun series to say the least too. Because Greg Popovich continues to define the expectation and define the odds. You know why? Because his system continuously be effective, especially against a very young and very up and coming Denver Nuggets team by Jordan Murphy and Jokic there too, and Paul Millsap. I'm telling you, it's not been getting a lot of attention as it should, unlike all the other different series that I've talked about. But it's been a series of both with execution and also with clutch play there as well. I'm anxious to see how that series is going on. I think the Nuggets will win this in 6, but the Spurs are making it tough. And if they can find a way to get, if they can find a way to try to make a move to try to get, what's his name, Kristaps Porzingis during the offseason, combine that with LaMarcus Aldridge in the back in the front line, and then you have also DeMar DeRozan in the backcourt. I'm telling you, the Spurs. They may be irrelevant at this point, but keep your eyes on them. They will always pull something out of their hat every time. So that's basically my analysis of what I see in the playoffs so far. So now, I am officially going to continue the countdown of my top 10 greatest first-round series of all time. Last week, at number 10, I said the 2009 first-round series between the Chicago Bulls and the Boston Celtics was my favorite one. My favorite one at number 10. Now, at number 9, I have, drum roll please, the 2015 Western Conference first round series between the San Antonio Spurs and the LA Clippers. Now, I'm going to give you a little narration about this. So, this was actually a series that was basically the basketball gods that loved to have and was basically gave to us because the Spurs had met the Clippers previously in the playoffs, but demolished them. I think it was way back in was it 2012, 2013, I believe. Let me check it out. 2013 playoffs. Who they faced in the first round? Let me take a look real quick. Just a little quick. Just hold up a sec, everybody. Just hold up 1 second. Oh no, they faced against the Lakers. Never mind. That they did though. So maybe it was the next year though. Okay, nope, no, they didn't. Probably was 2011 or something like that, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's continue. Let me continue. So this was year 4 of the of Lob City, of the original pairing of both Chris Paul and Blake Griffin. Now, they were basically the 3 seed, while the Spurs, they were the number 2 seed, but ended up going as a number 6 seed and drawing the Clippers in the first round. Now, both these teams were both polar opposites. The Spurs were obviously the championship veteran team, while the Clippers were an up-and-coming team. And now this was championship year or bust year for the LA Clippers. So this was actually a clashing style between 38-year-old Tim Duncan at the time, trying to make his one more run at a championship against a young and still healthy Blake Griffin. So sometimes you gotta let first round series build up a little bit. So in the first game, the Clippers, convincingly beat them, but then in game 2, the Clippers coughed up a big lead and then ended up losing game 2 and then lost by 27 points in game 3. Just when you thought that the LA Clippers were going to fold once again in the playoffs, they were able to get out a huge victory in game 4. And then basically the Spurs took it back in game 5 with a very close victory there. So to send the series back home for game 6 in San Antonio. But the Clippers, who were facing an elimination game, normally would collapse and would basically call it quits. Now in this case, they went on and basically edged out a huge road victory there to force a 7th game. What took place there, and I actually watched this at home sitting on my couch there, was one of the best closeout games in the first round, basically just in this decade. Considering the fact of the storyline and basically the build up and the anticipation of that. Okay, boom, there we go. So it was basically a nip and tuck game from start to finish. Both those teams were basically trading buckets left and right. So, with a minute to go in the game, as the score was tied with 107, 2 certified Hall of Famers, both Chris Paul and Tim Duncan, were at center stage there. So, Chris Paul made a huge bucket there to give the Clippers a 2-point lead with 13 seconds to go. Then, on the next possession there, Tim Duncan was fouled and ended up making both free throws to tie the game at 109. Then, on the next play there, Chris Paul basically faked out a screen and roll play there for Blake Griffin, and then right at the rim to go in there to take on a huge running floater over the top of Tim Duncan's outstretched hands, and made a huge bucket there to basically beat the San Antonio Spurs and move on to the second round. Now, at the time, though, this was actually the biggest playoff victory in the history of the LA Clippers. And for a franchise that has not had any successful playoff runs or any huge significant moments there, this was big for them. And it basically was a huge signal of the changing of the guard in LA for a moment of time, just up until the Houston series. But I'm gonna save that for the next list though when we get to the second round though. But you got to give credit where credit's due. And also, for Chris Paul, who took a lot of heat and criticism though throughout his career, of not leading his team very well in the playoffs. But for him to make that huge bucket late in that game though was one of the biggest moments of his career. And unfortunately, it was one of the huge silver lining moments of his career for a time in LA, in which they were a good team, but they just never could get over the hump. And then you also had to consider the other San Francisco rivals of the Golden State Warriors that end up getting better at winning championships in the process. So, but I gave this appreciation. I put this at number 9 in my list as one of the best first round series of all time in my eyes. So I'm gonna come back at number 8 though. I just got to take care of something real quick. I'll just be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back, y'all. Now, lastly, at number 8 on my list, I got the 1993 Western Conference first round series between the 1 seed Phoenix Suns versus the 8 seed Los Angeles Lakers. Now, many young viewers may not know too much about that series, and that's perfectly fine. I'm gonna give you a little background story about that series. The 1992-93 season was basically different roles for both the Lakers and Suns. The Suns came into that year with championship expectations, and he landed the hugest acquisition of the entire offseason when they traded for Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was one of the best power forwards of all time, but unfortunately, his time in Philadelphia had ran its course, and basically he had to start. And basically, he wanted to start over, and the city of Philadelphia wanted to start over, so they made the trade to Phoenix. Immediately when that trade happened, it was the biggest trade. It was one of the biggest trades of the year, and rest assured, the Phoenix Suns didn't miss a beat. They ended up winning 62 games and became the best and earned the best record in the NBA that year. On the other side of the ball, you had the Los Angeles Lakers, who already are in the deep in the phase of a transitional period, though, because after they made the finals in 1991, Magic Johnson announced that he had HIV before the start of the 91-92 season and was forced to retire. So therefore, the Lakers were no longer championship contenders as they were trying to rebuild themselves and try to put themselves back up again. Now, the cast of characters of James Worthy and Byron Scott were basically on their last legs together as a team. Byron Scott made statements that he was going to lead the Lakers at the end of the season. So, what took place in that time was perhaps one of the most unexpected and one of the most thrilling first round series. And in fact, and here's a little fact for you guys. Before the 94 series between the Nuggets and the Sonics, no A seed has beaten the number 1 seed before the next year. So keep that in mind as I'm talking about this. Okay? So heading into that matchup in the 1993 playoffs, many experts, including myself, watching it on YouTube as well, felt that the LA Lakers should have been swept. That the Phoenix Suns were just too powerful because of the presence of Barkley and their 3-point shooting and just their overall depth. But they were basically riddled with an injury bug because Kevin Johnson once again got hurt with a sports hernia injury. Actually, I think it was probably an ankle injury or something like that. Probably an ankle injury, most likely ankle injury. But actually, no, I should take that back. It was actually a knee injury. Now I remember, knee injury. Yep. So he missed the first game, and the Lakers went on to win their first game on the road. And that's to look at the margin there. 1993 playoffs. Lakers and Suns. Okay. There we go. So they went on to squeak in a 4-point victory, 107-103, in a huge upset victory in the making. Now, the next game there, the Lakers won again, thanks to another balanced attack of the Lakers too as well. You know what I'm saying? So when you look back at that series, though, the Lakers did two impressive things. Won the first game, they won two road games in Phoenix's own building, which they were unstoppable at home. So when the Suns were trailing 0-2 in the series, all the expectations and all the pressures on them to come out of the Western Conference weighing in on these guys. And this was their first two tests of adversity for them all season long. So the question was going to be, could they overcome it and find a way to get themselves back into the series? Well, rest assured, when the series went to LA, the Phoenix Suns woke up and started playing like the best team in basketball that particular year. They went on to win Game 3 on a 5-point margin, 107-102. And then in Game 4, in a huge blowout fashion, 101-86. Sending the series back to the Valley of the Sun for the potential Game 5. Now, that Game 5 was a thrilling finish. And I suggest for everybody to watch that game on YouTube. So, it was a nip and tuck game from start to finish. The Lakers held up a 1-point lead during that time. But James Worthy had a huge fourth quarter. I think he had 12 points in that fourth quarter of play. So he basically was hitting jumpers. He was basically playing like the old James Worthy back in the 80s. So then it was basically a nip and tuck game that went into overtime. And also, Jan Marley also had a huge game there, but he came into that game basically coming out of the hospital with the flu bug too. But basically, he hits a running fadeaway jumper to tie the game to send it into overtime. And then afterwards, the Phoenix Suns were able to pull away. They outscored the Lakers 17-9 in that overtime and voided the first round upset. That was basically in prelude to what was going to happen to the Seattle Supersonics and the Denver Nuggets the year after that. But this was one of the first true scares. And actually, when you really think about it, if the Lakers would have pulled off this upset, it would have been bigger than the Nuggets upsetting the Seattle Supersonics. Because you had Charles Barkley, who had an MVP caliber season, 62 regular season victories. They were basically had high expectations of getting to the finals and winning it all. And for them to lose in the first round against basically a watered-down, veteran, experienced Lakers would have been a huge upset. But granted, it never happened. And the Phoenix Suns went on to the NBA Finals, where they ended up losing to Michael Jordan and the Bulls in 6 games. So that's number 8 on my countdown. So I'll be back tomorrow with number 7 and number 6. And basically, it's going to continue down towards Friday where I have my number 1 favorite first round series of all time. And if you're a Bulls, and if you see my Bulls avatar, you may guess what it is, but I'm not going to tell you. So that will do it for now. So that's for another edition of the MehariNation Sports Podcast here, guys. Thanks y'all for tuning in, and also keep on smashing that like button on the way out. So, guys, everyone with wrenches, continue to spread the word, spread the message, and share this live stream on your social media platforms. The more engagement, the better. I'm going to continue to try to figure out different things there. And also, I'm doing the jersey collection series. I'm working on another video for you guys about one of my jerseys I just bought in last week, though, too. You guys are going to enjoy it there, too. But also, I got the Chris Webber video there that is already up on my channel there, so you can go ahead and check it out. Just click on my name, and then just go ahead and check out the video. Feel free to comment anything you see in the video or any improvements you want me to make as I continue to progress and make the channel even better. So now I'm going to go ahead and shut this down and going to try to go get some sleep because I got to get to work tomorrow morning. But thanks, y'all, for tuning in to MehariNation Sports Podcast here. Make sure you smash the like button on the way out, and I'll be back tomorrow at right around 8:30, same time, same place, with once again the NBA first round series countdown. So take care, everybody. This has been MehariNation Sports Podcast here, coming to you live and direct. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to the greater Lions Den basketball community. And we out. Have a good night, everybody.